Welcome to Reality TV Cringe. I am one of your hosts, Delia, and I'm here with my real tight homegirl, Beatrice.
Hey, y'all.
We are here tonight to discuss Welcome to Plathville and also, oh Lord, 90 Day Fiancé The Last Resort.
Yes.
Where we had some interesting things happening. Before we get into it, though, we just want to remind you, hide your wife, hide your kids. This is an inappropriate podcast. We have offensive opinions and we are unapologetic about it. So if you're sensitive, better find yourself another podcast.
Yeah, beat it. Also, we have an Instagram at Reality TV Cringe. Go follow us there. And we got a Patreon. Patreon.com/Reality TV Cringe, where we got a bunch of bonus shit up on there.
And if you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and to share. Anything you do in the socials really helps us with the algorithm and helps us to grow the dumpster.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, well, let's hop right in to Welcome to Plathville, Season 5, Episode 7, entitled Romeo, Romeo.
These titles are getting worse
They're
every
super
week.
dumb.
Like, what is this Romeo? Is this about Ken Palmer? Is he the Romeo?
I guess, but I mean, Romeo and Juliet is a tragic love story of two teenagers who ended up killing themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't think it applies to 50 and 60-year-old Ken and Kim. Maybe Olivia and Ethan, because we see in this episode the writing is kind of on the wall that things are getting rocky for them. Maybe.
I hope they divorce.
Oh God, me too.
Please.
So some of your major takeaways for this episode of Plathville, give it to us.
I am really tired of Kim talking about her new dick. I'm just so tired of her talking about Kim Palmer like he writes the stars in the sky. Like, he is probably an alcoholic also.
I mean, kind of looks like it, right?
And for her to be like, he's so handsome. I'm like, Barry's stacked right now, dude.
Yeah.
He's stacked. He looks good with that gold chain. Just like, don't look at his head.
He's got drip.
Yeah.
And
got the
Riz.
drip.
What's Riz?
Like, you know,
Charisma?
like, yeah, sexual chemistry.
I mean, he's got
yeah.
some testosterone going on. He's got some muscles happening. Yes.
Yeah. And so her just talking about it, I'm just like, stop. Just shut up. Nobody cares.
Well, and every time you talk about it, we must then envision it. And I just
know.
can't get there. Ugh. She shows up to her date for the rainy calamari with her mini skirt on. And I'm like, Kim. But I mean, again, kind of like with Angela from 90 Day Fiancé, you got to respect the confidence. I mean,
guess.
God bless.
Yeah.
I think Kim, personally, I know we disagree here. I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she's a beautiful woman. And she is entitled to live a good life.
Yeah, sure.
I guess. Whatever. But yeah, I don't want to think about what it is you're doing with Ken Palmer in Tallahassee, Florida. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The major takeaway for me from this episode was Isaac.
Yeah.
And that uncomfortable and I would dare say inappropriate conversation with Kim in which she basically places the beginning of her relationship on the shoulders of her teenage son.
I know.
Like, can't you see his face
He's so uncomfortable.
You're telling him that he was the one who introduced you to the guy I believe you ultimately left Barry for?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Isaac in that moment. Like, you could see it all over his face, and Kim's like, yeah, he took it well. It's like, no, he's
and then
pretty
she's
sad.
talking about Barry and how I told Barry and he didn't say anything. He just said it was sad, but he never told me not to date anybody.
Well, you said you wanted to see other people and you wanted a divorce, so what is he supposed to fucking say?
But every opportunity she can take to kind of drag Barry and make him look bad, she seems to take it, even though it's pretty passive aggressive. But contrast that with what Barry's doing.
Right.
He's like very nice. I mean, he's still showing up to family meetings with his adulterous wife.
I know.
He's still speaking respectfully to and of her. And every chance she gets around the kids, she's just throwing that subtle shade at Barry. I'm like, oh God, so immature.
The little jabs. Yeah. Meanwhile, Barry's talking about how he's growing from his faith and trying to be a good person, be a good dad. And I'm just like, Barry, I love you.
Yes, thank you. I'm starting to like Barry a lot more.
Finally.
Than in previous seasons, I must say. Okay, let's get into the episode.
Yes.
We begin back in Minnesota with Ethan and Olivia, and we see Olivia going to Floyd's bar, which, by the way, is the same bar that they took pictures of Ethan and that young chippy brunette girl. And I was wondering, is it the other bartender? Is it the bartender that Olivia was with in this episode? But that's the same bar.
Scandalo.
So Olivia shows up, and I guess she had talked to the manager previously. She's only been in Minnesota for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And she wants to put herself out there and start getting involved in the community and serving alcoholic beverages because she's really into mixology.
I know.
I'm a mixologist. I'm a photographer and a dancer. I strip on a pole.
Jack of all trades.
Jesus. What did you think of this?
This is so fucking cringe, dude. And I don't know what came first. Like, did Olivia get her bartending license first or try to, and then Mariah copied her? Or did Mariah go first and then Olivia's copying her on the end? I don't know. I think it's cringe.
Yep.
I don't want to see her pretend to be like all fun and flirty and like, I'm just like trying to find myself and I'm like trying to find friends in Victoria. Like, because I don't want to be so bored and depressed from the cold weather. Meanwhile, last episode, she's like, it's so magical and I love it.
It's a winter wonderland. It's so magical for Ethan and I. 3 weeks later, she hates it. She said a couple of things that I thought were pretty telling. For example, she said that people think, and in specific, maybe her friends think, that something might be amiss with her and with Ethan based upon the amount of time they spend together because they're not actually spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I think it's because Ethan has already found a job. He's already got some bros. He's kind of clicking back into his faith community, his Christian community through these bros. And so he's occupied. His time is occupied. His interests are occupied. And Olivia is just sitting home in that apartment in the cold winter Victoria, Minnesota. And she's like, well, he's not allowed to live a happy life without me. Well, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to be a bartender.
I'm going to find myself.
I'm going to be a better one than Mariah. But I'm like, that's interesting. She's already sort of starting to pepper in doubt about their relationship.
She's setting up the whole narrative. It's pretty interesting. And I'm like, I don't know if people are actually making those assumptions. You've only been in Victoria for 3 weeks.
Right.
Nobody knows you.
Right.
Nobody cares about your guys' marriage or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of independence in your marriage and doing your own thing. It's not like you're going outside doing yard work with your husband, fucking digging holes and shit. You're going to let him do his own shit.
Yes. And please leave me alone too, because I'm doing my own shit.
I'm watching my reality TV.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
That's part of a healthy relationship.
Right.
But it feels like it's bothering her.
Yeah.
Like Ethan isn't spending enough time with her, giving her enough attention. He's probably working on his big dumb cars, spending time with his family that lives in the area, and she wants more. It's never enough though with Olivia.
It never is.
It really is never enough.
And I don't think she's happy that he's happy there. I think she really does not like that because she took him away from his family, moved him up to Victoria and thinking that it was going to be great and we're going to work on our marriage. And now he's thriving and doing fine.
He loves the cold.
He loves the cold and he's just chilling up there and she's just like, how dare you?
I don't think it's going to plan for Olivia. And maybe it's surprising to her as well. Maybe she thought she would be happier.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think she's a very cosmopolitan kind of person. Totally. I think she loved traveling across Europe. I think she loves traveling for her photography business. I think she loves kind of being in the mix of the social scene. Ethan strikes me as not that at all.
Yeah.
So I think these differences as they're getting older are just going to become sharper, and they're going to have to make a decision. And I do believe by the end of this season, we're going to have them splitting up. I'm just wondering, is it Ethan who initiates it? Because in the preview, we see him getting pretty mad. His tomato face is real red.
Really red.
Or is it going to be Olivia? Because Olivia has threatened divorce many times.
She has,
and they've separated before. So which one is going to initiate? I don't know.
Oh, God. I hope it's Ethan.
I do too.
I really hope it's Ethan.
Kick that bitch to the curb.
For real.
Moving on, we go back to Cairo. We've got a scene with Kim and Isaac, as we've discussed. Kim is going back to the Plath family farm because she'd like to convert it into a wedding venue, which seems like a good use of the farm.
I guess.
Generates some income. It's a nice piece of property, and she wants Isaac to be able to help her with some of the projects.
Yeah.
And as Kim tells it, she doesn't really get to sit down with Isaac, just the two of them very often. And so she wants to have this time, this space, so that she can break the news that she's throwing that pussy down for Ken Palmer, laying it low and spreading it wide.
Spreading it wide.
Poor innocent Isaac.
Dude, and he like doesn't know what's coming. I mean, she just brings it up too. Like she doesn't really ease him into it or anything. She's like, I got something to say, so I'm fucking your friend.
been fucking him for a
I've
while.
been fucking
though.
him for a
Thanks
while.
for the introduction.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
He's your new daddy. I hope you like him because he's your new daddy.
I mean, oh my God. This whole scene is so awkward. And I just feel so bad for Isaac the whole entire time. Like in his talking head, he's like, I don't really know what to think. Like it's sad, but like I want my mom to be happy, I guess. And so I just kind of have to accept it because it's what's happening. But like in the moment, he tells her like, oh, okay. Like that's cool.
Well, he asks, have you told Dad?
Yeah.
And so he's immediately concerned about Barry.
Yeah.
And she also places kind of the responsibility of her meeting this guy onto Isaac, which is just wild to me that you wouldn't think that through ahead of time, what you're going to say to your son who has a pre-existing relationship with this guy. But of course, this is Kim. She doesn't think about anything but herself.
Yep.
So Isaac asks after Barry, and this is where we learned that Kim had told Barry a year previous that she intended to see other people, which is code for she was probably already seeing somebody.
100%.
And it was probably Ken.
Oh, yeah, totally.
At the time that she told Barry a year before, Barry didn't have anything to say to that.
Of course not.
What
What
can
would
you
you
say?
say? Yeah.
Right. He's like, I want to be married to you, but like you're obviously making these choices. I cannot stop you.
Yeah.
All he said was, well, that's really sad.
Because it is.
And then she told him specifically that she was dating Ken. And again, he just said, well, that's sad.
Yeah. I bet he's angry that
Yeah.
it's Ken. And I just also think it's really cringe that she just jumped to the first man she was introduced to that was not Barry. Like, she meets Ken Palmer because of Isaac, I guess. And she's like, yeah, I thought he was a really cool guy. And I started texting him and I knew immediately that we had a connection. I'm like, okay, so you were already trying to flirt, like right off the bat. Like, I understand if your marriage was so terrible to Barry, which I'm just like, I don't see it.
I don't either. I don't want to judge, but
I don't want to
see
judge. I mean, I understand it probably wasn't passionate. It wasn't super.
I mean, they had 10 children. I feel like
I
it was maybe a
guess.
little passionate.
Maybe. I mean, well, and they made out in that one scene.
He stuck his tongue all the way down her throat, honey.
Yeah. So maybe it was passionate, but maybe not what she needed emotionally or something.
Right.
I don't know. And I understand if you're like just ready and itching to get out of a marriage. You do just want to go to like whoever is open to boinking you. But I'm just like, Ken
Yes,
Palmer though?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I don't really see it. And when we get to their date, I'm like, is there really chemistry here?
I
This feels
know.
awkward as fuck. Is this how old people date? I don't understand what's happening here. I also felt with this scene with Isaac that it was super inappropriate for her to divulge to Isaac that she had had this conversation with Barry.
Yeah.
That Barry didn't tell her not to date other people, that Barry didn't respond or react the way maybe she thought that he should or would. I'm like, why are you telling your 16-year-old son, who is just trying to make it through this terrible divorce that you said, you promised would never happen, not in this family?
Right.
How do you expect him to like carry that information? What do you expect him to be, your friend? You want him to be
Yeah.
your friend in this moment? You're his mom.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It was really inappropriate that she brought that up. And I also wonder if maybe she was looking for some kind of approval from him. Like, you know, oh, well, I told your dad and he didn't react. So therefore, like, he didn't care. So I'm going to go screw somebody else. Like, I think she was trying to get some kind of reaction from Isaac that would have validated what she's doing. But he's not going to give her that.
Which is so wrong.
Yeah, totally.
Which kind of speaks to the fact that Kim doesn't really strike me as a woman with friends or a social circle. Obviously, we were introduced to Mama Sue and last week Alicia, but these feel like fake prop friends that aren't really in her life. Like, she doesn't seem like she has the ability to connect in a human way with anybody.
Oh, not at all.
It's very strange. So she's trying to connect with her son, but I'm like, even that's inappropriate and weird. Kim, stop.
Yeah, really stop. And maybe it's because she's been on the farm the last 25 years raising a bunch of children and homeschooling them terribly. Like, maybe she didn't even have time to like branch out or have any friends. So now we're seeing the product of that, or like her midlife crisis at 50 something. Just leaving a marriage of 30 years and breaking up her whole entire family for what? Like, because you felt a little tingle in your coochie?
For Ken Palmer?
I mean, for Ken Palmer?
God, I don't get it. Not at
Jeez.
all. After this scene, we bop on back to Victoria, Minnesota. We have Ethan and Olivia preparing for the visit of Lydia Grace and her boyfriend, CJ. She's
weed
got all of
boyfriend.
her cocktails out because she's a mixologist. I'm a mixologist. I've got a license. I've been studying booze.
I'm a future bartender.
So she's like making an old fashioned or something. And Lydia, Grace, and CJ come on in. So what did you think of CJ?
He's kind of weird.
Kind of a vanilla milk toasty.
Totally.
I'm like,
Kind of a doughboy a little bit.
The kind of guy you date when you're too young to know any better.
Yeah.
Ugh, yikes.
He's kind of cringy. And they like, it's so awkward because Lydia and Olivia aren't like super close yet. I mean, they're trying to rebuild their relationship. As Lydia says that they had no relationship for the last 22 years. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, but a couple episodes ago, didn't you guys say you used to be friends a little bit before her and Ethan got married? I don't get it.
Everybody lies.
Everybody
All
lies.
these Christians lie.
Yep.
Christians love to lie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ethan's just awkward because he doesn't like people.
He's socially awkward.
Oh my God.
He was weird. It was
so weird.
very strange when they walk in and Ethan's just like busying himself in the kitchen and he doesn't really direct any conversation towards the guests. It's just like a little awkward. And you can tell Olivia is more gregarious and more outgoing and kind of wants to have a good time. So they have drinks. They sit down to play Two Truths and a Lie.
Yeah.
And this is where we learn, in effect, that Ethan doesn't like butt stuff.
Yeah.
And Olivia does like butt stuff. Olivia is intrigued by butt stuff.
I know. So he's never done it in her butt?
I guess not.
What in the butt?
And I think she wants to stick a digit in his butt. And he's just like, no, ma'am, exit only.
That's gay.
It's gay. It's LGBTQIA. And so that was interesting, but it was very strange. Is this how you partied when you were 24?
No.
I know that was only 2 years ago.
I know.
You were partying with us. How did you party when you were 23, 24 years old?
I mean, I don't even know if I was really partying, but if I had friends over, it was like chill. I cooked them dinner and we watched TV and we chit-chatted like normal people. But this is just awkward. I'm like, who plays Two Truths and a Lie? Like, this is what weird Christians do when they're so sheltered. They think it's fun.
Let's take a shot of limoncello. I'm like, okay.
For real.
So liqueur, I don't understand. After this, we go on over to Tallahassee, Florida, where we get to sit in on the most romantic date of the year with Ken and Kim. She's got her little mini skirt on, and I don't want to hate. She's looking good. She's feeling herself every inch of this body, yaddy, yaddy. She's out with Ken, who's got his nice shoes on and stuff. And two old people on a date. They go into this place. She gets calamari. He gets, I don't know, sushi.
And they eat it with forks. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Turbo Caucasian, turbo white people in their white people glory. And they're just talking about, you know, how great it is to be together. Ken says to the camera, you know, we're older. We know we want someone, but we're like going to wait until we find the right person. Because I've been through this life. I've been around the world and I know what I want and I want Kim. Give me some Kim. Oh, the booze is getting to me. But I'm just like, you guys are duds.
Such duds. You think their sex position is just like donkey the whole entire time?
What can they do? Probably. What can they do?
They can't really do missionary.
I don't know.
Maybe she's doing reverse cowgirl.
Maybe reverse cowgirl and doggy.
69 maybe.
Yeah, and maybe she can like hoist her leg up over him. He's sideways. She hoists her leg.
Well, she's a ballet dancer, so she's pretty flexible.
She could pirouette. She could pirouette right on
that
top of that
dick.
dick. That's right, girl. Ooh. At some point, Kim's like, so what are we? Like, let's define this.
Would you call me your girlfriend?
And I'm like, hold up. So you had a whole ass conversation with your son, Isaac, without actually knowing whether you're in a formal relationship with Ken Palmer. Don't you think you should have waited until you understood like what kind of a relationship this actually was before you told your son who knows this man? I'm like, what are you doing out here in these streets?
Well, she said it was serious. Like last episode, she's like, I feel like it's really serious. So that's why I need to tell the children.
Confirm it with him first.
Well, yeah.
Maybe we're seeing things out of order.
Maybe.
But I wouldn't put it past her to not even know if the relationship is viable before she's barfing all this information onto her tender kids.
She's so dumb and selfish, dude.
She is. That was it. I guess they became formal boyfriend and girlfriend.
As they stuffed sushi into their mouths and then
60 years of age.
Gave that weird kiss.
I'm so happy. I'm like, don't kiss on camera.
Do you think Ken Palmer's like 60 something?
I don't know. I can't tell. He's got one of those faces. It looks like a walrus. I can't tell. He could be 60.
Yeah.
He could be 55. He could be 57. Up around there. Up
Okay.
around those
Up
higher
around
numbers.
her. Yeah.
But she's in love, girl. She's sprung. That pussy sprung
I guess.
for Ken Palmer. You never know what somebody can do with their mouth. You
I
know what
mean, I guess. With them teeth, though, I just can't.
with
And the
them
mustache.
chompers.
Oh.
Oh, we are being terrible. Then we transition over to Barry.
I know.
He's in Cairo
Yeah.
with a gold chain on with his drip, as the kids say. And
He's
his
looking hot.
Rizzy drips. And he's doing something in the yard. He's cleaning up yard waste.
Yeah.
And he's talking to the camera about his life. And I was like, wow.
I loved this whole scene. I watched
Yeah.
it twice. I'm just like, I love you so much. He's basically just saying that over the course of this divorce, it's been really hard for him because it's 25 years of
Yeah.
marriage down the fucking tubes. And he was sad about it. And he struggled a little bit with depression. And he had those thoughts coming in of, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm a fuck up. And then he turned to his faith and turned to working out and getting jacked and realized that he couldn't let those thoughts get to him and that he has to be better for his kids and be better for himself. And he talks about how he has to couple that with taking responsibility because he knows he wasn't perfect to Kim. That's why they're in this predicament. That's why they're divorced, because he couldn't value her, but she also did some shit to him. He's like, I could be mad about that, but I'm sure I pissed her off too, and now I can learn from it.
So
and
diplomatic
move on.
and mature.
Yep.
But he also says, I'm not giving her a pass.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm condoning her behavior.
Right.
I'm just saying all I can do is take care of myself, deal with my own shit, and try to show up for my kids in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And he has said over the season a couple of times, like, I was absent. I really wasn't around to the degree that I should have been. And you should have been, because your kids don't even have a GED.
Right.
They don't have a proper education.
Right.
You have a technical job with a full-on fucking education. You went to college, so did fucking Kim, and your
Yep.
kids don't even have GEDs. You should have been way more present. But at least he realizes it.
Yeah.
He's like, I was absent. I made mistakes, but I'm really trying to be there for my kids now to the best of my ability. And I can do nothing but respect that.
Yeah.
You
Oh, for
only
sure.
have today and every moment that comes from this.
Yeah.
So do the best that you can. And he seems to want to do that. Unlike Kim, she just wants to fuck.
I know. And we haven't heard an ounce of self-responsibility or
No
accountability from
self-reflection.
Kim at all. Like, Barry's just sitting here talking about all the lessons he's learned and how he's growing. And he's like, maybe I've learned them a little too late. Like, I should have learned them way back then. Maybe I could still be married by now. But that's what it is. And he's just growing from it and learning from it. And I'm just like, mad respect,
Yes.
dude.
Yes.
I want you to, Barry, if you're listening to this, I want you to shave your head, grow a big beard, and find yourself a hottie toddy McHottie.
Oh, yes.
And
Someone who
bang her back
appreciates
out.
everything that you
Yep.
have to offer.
Yep.
Like, you have wealth,
Mm-hmm.
you have lands and properties,
Yep.
you have beautiful children. I mean, as a family, these kids want to work together.
They do.
They want to be together, connected, supportive of their parents. Like,
Yeah.
these are great kids.
They are.
Yes, you've got kids who are minors and you're going to still have to take care of them, and somebody might perceive that to be baggage. But at your age, your big ass age, you're going to find a woman who's age appropriate, who's going to have the same baggage, and it could be fabulous.
Yes.
The second chapter of your life could be absolutely fabulous. You don't need that hoe ass bitch Kim.
Yes, a preacher.
So I thought that that was really awesome. And then you compare that with Kim's typical behavior where she's just throwing him under the bus over and over again, passively,
Yep.
not super directly, but passively. And then every chance he gets with regard to Kim, he's gracious.
Yep. He really tries.
Yeah, much respect.
He could let his fucking anger get to him and he could be bitchy back right at her because she's trying to make him look bad and he hasn't done that at all. Even in the preview when they're like, have you met Ken Palmer? He doesn't even want to answer the question.
Next question.
Because you know he's not going to have an appropriate response.
He's
But
mad though.
I wish he
gets
would
super
say,
cold looking. He gets
does.
super robotic, machine Barry, Terminator Barry.
for real.
Come with me if you want to live.
For real.
Yeah, he gets mad. All right, after this scene, we go to Micah in Los Angeles. He gets on a FaceTime with Mariah and they have a discussion. What did you think of this?
Kind of interesting. We get into more of Ethan and Mariah's fallout. She kind of elaborates a little bit on it. And she says that she didn't want to be treated as poorly as she was by Ethan anymore. And that's why she kind of had to block him. And she still has him blocked because before that, he was like yelling and screaming at her to pay her bills and shit. Even though she paid Didn't she pay her rent for the end of the
She
lease?
says that she paid her rent through August when the lease ended, but that I think Ethan expected her to pay rent in September.
Why?
While they were still there. I don't know if they were still there as they were packing up to move to Minnesota, but she wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the obligation is. It seems a little bit iffy and vague to me.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know that there was that big whiteboard with the bills that Mariah had to pay. And
Right.
so it didn't seem like it was a high priority for her to take care of her responsibilities. And Ethan yelled at her a lot.
Yeah.
And this is where she kind of talks about how that's just been their dynamic.
Right.
Like as children, Ethan bossed her around, yelled at her, maybe even bullied her a little. And at this age, what is she, 19 or 20 years old?
20,
Almost
yeah.
21 years old. She's like, you can't talk to me like that anymore.
Yeah.
Like if there's an issue, we can try to heal it.
Right.
But not if you're going to scream at me like you're my parent.
Right.
Or like you're my fucking employer or some abusive asshole. That's not going to work. And I respect that.
Me too. I respect that too. And I think she's great in standing in her boundary and everything and still keeping him blocked because, you know, he's still pissed off at her and he probably would react really poorly and yell at her for how she treated Olivia and everything, which she also gets into with Micah, which is kind of interesting because I think Micah brings it up asking if she would apologize for the shit that happened with Olivia, and she takes accountability a little bit. She's like, I shouldn't have reacted the way that I did, but at the same time I feel like Olivia only did what she did to me to get the reaction out of me. So I can totally see that.
Yes, I can as well. And I don't think she has to go groveling back to Ethan and Olivia, although that sounds like what Ethan wants her to do is apologize to Olivia. She's like, no, bitch, I'm not going to apologize to Olivia.
Fuck that.
Let it go. If you want to have a relationship with me outside of that, I'm open to it as long as it's healthy and mature and you're not fucking toxic.
Right.
But if you can't hang, then we're not in a relationship. You're still blocked. I'm not talking to you. Exactly. And I don't have to talk to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thought that was very mature of her.
Yeah.
Healthy boundaries are good for everybody, Beatrice.
Yes, agreed.
After this, we go back to Victoria, Minnesota, where we have Ethan and Olivia and CJ and Lydia Grace going out for sledding. And it starts in the apartment. Did you notice?
Yes.
When Olivia was like, put on a hat, Ethan, because he had some sort of, I don't know, Irish old man hat.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's really fucking cold out there. You need a proper hat. And he's like, no, he's not going to do it.
I'll just put on the hat that I want and I'll put it over my ears and it's fine. Like I've been up here multiple times during my childhood. I can handle the cold, bitch.
Yeah, I know how to live my own life. Thank you very much, though. Absolutely not. But you could sense the tension that morning before they even leave.
Oh, yeah.
Olivia's a little pissed at him because she's trying to control him. And he's like, no, you're not going to control me.
Yep.
So they get in the truck or SUV.
Yeah.
And they head on down to sledding, wherever that is. And this is the scene where Ethan starts to do donuts in the SUV.
Yes.
And Olivia has a bad reaction to this because Olivia has been in a couple of accidents that were very traumatizing to her. She tells him in the moment, please stop, let me out. He doesn't do that. He continues to do his donuts. And I mean, I live with a gearhead.
Yeah.
My husband loves cars. He loves doing that kind of shit. Oh my God. I think we were just married and we were living in Colorado and we had just gotten our Jeep Rubicon and he wanted to go up in the mountains in the snow with it.
God.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
We go up this pass in Idaho Springs. There's a lake up there and we start going up this fucking mountain and we start sliding towards the edge and I'm like, stop, please stop. And he's like, okay, I'm going to stop. And he had to find some place to turn around. But like, he loves doing shit like that.
Right.
He loves doing donuts. He loves going 125 on fucking the highway.
Yeah.
That's the shit he loves to do. But if I told him in a moment, please stop, this is scaring the fuck out of me, please let me out, you better believe he would stop immediately.
Yeah.
And he would take care of me. And if I had to be let out, he would let me out.
Exactly.
So the way Ethan handled this, I did not like.
Agreed.
What did you think?
I agree. Like, especially because at first she was a little nervous about it and she was trying to laugh it off. And then he kept doing the donuts. And that was when she started getting visibly upset. She looked like she was about to cry and said, Ethan, I need to get the fuck out of here. I'm not kidding. And he's just like, what? I don't care. Ugh.
Right.
I didn't like that at all.
No.
He should have taken her out, kicked her out, and then continue doing donuts if you want. That's fine, whatever. But he knew that was going to piss her off. And I feel like this is a weird dynamic that they have in their relationship where I think she constantly does this to him. Like, and not in every circumstance is right. Like, I'm sure in this circumstance it was justified because she's like visibly uncomfortable and has a traumatic background with cars and everything. But I think she does this to him with little shit that bothers him. And so I think that was probably why he just didn't fucking care. Right. Not saying that justifies his response or that makes him in the right. I just think he's getting fed up with her.
Yeah. How many times are you crying wolf?
Right.
How many times are you getting traumatized? How many times are you having an emotional outburst?
Exactly.
Trying to control what I am doing. That's what it kind of felt like to me. And I was trying to watch her to see, maybe she's legitimately a little bit scared, but is she escalating? Is she amplifying in order to try and control? Because she was trying to control him in the apartment before they even got in the SUV.
Yep.
So is this just a ploy that she uses? And then when he doesn't respond and do what she wants, she gets more and more upset. Because afterwards, we see them on the bed talking about it. And she's trying to explain to him why it's upsetting to her because she's traumatized. And he's just like, yeah, I think you're just sensitive.
Yeah, over dramatic.
I think you're over dramatic. And she's like, well, I'm trying to tell you how I feel, though. And he's just dismissing her. And then she ends up saying, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
You're gaslighting me. Fuck off. And I was thinking, wow, that's interesting to me because... And we were talking about this on the car ride over here.
Yeah.
It shouldn't really matter whether what she's saying is rational or factual.
Right.
Really. It should be how she feels in a moment. Your significant other should pay attention to that. And if it bothers you, it should bother me too. I'm just of the philosophy that that's the way it is. And like, if it's bothering my husband, even if I want to do it, I'm going to stop and we're going to have that conversation and work it out.
Yeah.
Ethan just barrels on through and does it anyway. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's something that just smells manipulative about what Olivia's doing. And it's like she can't continue to control him. So she's getting more and more upset over these types of things. And she's trying in this moment to make him look bad.
Yes, intentionally. And like at first when I watched this the first time, I missed some of the manipulative things that she was doing in their talking heads, like on their bed. Because the second time I watched, I noticed before he even called her over dramatic and sensitive, he's like, okay, well, next time I do donuts or something, then I'll just tell you need to get out of the car and that way you're not in it. And then I'm going to do it. And she's like, she got mad. She's like, why? That's stupid. I don't care about the logic. Why? And it's like, okay, so you're not really actually wanting a solution. You're wanting him to not do the thing that you don't want him to do. But he wants to do it. You're uncomfortable with it. That's fine. And I think he was kind of trying to like find a solution, compromise or whatever.
He was kind of a dick about
in his own way.
He's like, okay, well, I'll give you 20 seconds to get out of the car then if you don't want to be in the car. He was being flippant about it. He was. But this is a man at the end of his rope with a very controlling and manipulative woman.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's where I think he got fed up because she's like, why? And he's like, well, I'm just trying to fucking make you happy. And then she got mad about it. And then he's like, well, I think you're being over traumatic and sensitive. And that's when she said, fuck off. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's like, well, you were the one that brought it up though. And you're crying about how he doesn't respect you, but then you tell him to fuck off. Yeah. Like that's pretty disrespectful. I don't know. They're both really immature.
Honey, when the cameras are off, I think she's hella disrespectful. Totally. I think he's super non-communicative, non-emotive. I think he walks away all the time. He doesn't give her attention space to work things through. He's not good at communication, but she's also heavily manipulative. And even though he might not really... Well, I do think he's conscious to her manipulation. I know that he feels it.
Yes.
I know that he's not emotionally dumb. And so when she's pulling her shenanigans, he knows it and he doesn't appreciate it. Yep. And so I think they thought by going to Minnesota, like everything was going to be so much better because all these people wouldn't be able to interject themselves into our lives. But now, like we said, wherever you go, there you are, baby. Yes. There your marriage is exactly as it is. Yep. And is it going to work or is it not? And for all the therapy speak that... Olivia's constantly talking, her gaslighting and her boundaries and all of the things she's always saying. Like in the moment when you're in an actual issue or conflict, you say fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get pissed off. Yeah. And then the cameras turn off and I wonder what else happens, honestly.
Oh, she's probably such a bitch to him, like constantly. And I was thinking about this in the context of my own marriage because I'm right around their age. And when we moved, we used to live in Texas, me and your daughter.
Yeah.
And then we moved out to
Me
Arizona.
and your daughter. Sorry.
We moved out to Arizona because I wanted to get away from my family and everything. And when we were out there, we struggled a bit because we were young and
My
by
poor
ourselves.
babies. I told you not to go.
I know.
I told you all
I
of the
know.
mountains are dead.
I know. You
They're
ruined
dead.
it.
I know. And then you got out there and you're like,
They
shit,
are dead.
They are dead.
Yeah.
Phoenix
And
is
it's
dead.
hot as fuck.
Mm.
But it was hard for those first couple years because we had to just grow the fuck up and like learn how to actually be a couple outside of everything else that was influencing us. And you can either make it or break it at that point. And I think Ethan and Olivia are going to break it. I don't think they're going to be able to work through any of these issues unless they go to fucking couples therapy and the couples therapist calls out Olivia for her bullshit and calls out Ethan for his bullshit.
Right.
And they actually grow up, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. And I really can't stand people like Olivia presents herself to be, as if she's so enlightened.
I know.
Again, all of the motivation, inspiration, and therapy speak. But then when it comes down to brass tacks, doesn't know how to act and is probably pretty oppressive to Ethan. And Ethan doesn't know how to deal with it. It just seems like it's miserable. I wouldn't want to be stuck in that Victoria, Minnesota apartment. I'll tell you that right now.
No kidding. Me neither.
Well, that was the end of the episode. And then we got to the preview and there was like a season, like the remaining season preview.
Yeah.
And we wrote down what happened because there were a few things that looked really interesting. First and foremost, Ethan and Olivia's relationship definitely on the rocks.
Yep.
Ethan is having a conversation with Barry saying that Olivia thinks the family wishes that Ethan and Olivia weren't together. And you just see Barry looking at him with this cold, stony Terminator face. Like,
know.
You fucking think? She sucks. She fucking sucks. She's ruined our family.
Yes.
We see Micah out at, I guess, a bar with Ethan saying something along the lines of, I just know that I would hate it if my marriage was anything like your marriage to Olivia.
Big yikes, man.
And Ethan's just sitting there like,
dead face. Like,
what is he going to say
shit.
to that?
Yeah.
It's true. And then we see Olivia and Ethan on the couch, and Olivia is saying, well, I just didn't appreciate that you're out at a bar with somebody who's disrespecting our marriage.
My God. Starting to sound like Cody Brown. Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
And I don't want to be in a relationship like that. So threatening once again to end the relationship.
Yep.
And we were talking about this earlier. Like, yes, I don't think you should go running to other people, especially in your family, about all your marriage drama.
Right.
Because that's just never going to work out. Your family's going to always pick your side, and it's just going to cause them to hate your significant other. But at the same time, when you're so deeply on the rocks,
Yep.
like Ethan and Olivia are, and your brother comes into town and you need to go to the bar and have a drink and get some advice, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Agreed.
But Olivia is like, oh, my plan to isolate you isn't working. Now they're coming up to Minnesota and you're seeing them, and I don't like it.
I don't like
And
it.
I'm going to divorce you if you don't stop it.
Okay, bye, bitch.
Bitch, I can't. Looks like there's some kind of a siblings trip. So Isaac, Micah, and Ethan end up going, looks almost like California because I'm seeing, I think, palms and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Florida.
Maybe it's Florida.
Could be California. And then Mariah kicks the door on in and comes into the family reunion and ultimately has to have some kind of conversation with Ethan, which he didn't want to have. It was come in here just have fun time with my bros. And now Mariah's here and we have to talk about issues.
Yes, that's what you do as a normal human being.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Hello.
Barry continues to be angry, and this is where the producer asks him if he's met Ken, and he's like, next question.
I wonder if they were friends, dude.
I wonder why. He probably knew him.
He probably did. Maybe they
probably
got
met him 'cause
kombucha together.
Isaac's flight instructor.
Yeah.
And then we see at the very end Ethan and Olivia on the couch, and Ethan is just like, I am done.
Yes.
And he gets up and walks away.
Yeah, and this is where Olivia mentioned how Ethan doesn't want to have kids with her because they have such stark differences.
Right. And Ethan says, yeah, well, I have beliefs that you don't like. You have beliefs that I don't like. So these beliefs are obviously starting to come between them.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what beliefs they are. I mean, I think Christianity is probably at the top of the list. I think Olivia's ready to just call it quits with Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Whereas Ethan is in the process of doubling down and recommitting. But I'm also wondering if there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, like maybe LGBT,
a little
QIA,
homophobia. Like, what would
maybe.
happen if we had a gay bee? And Ethan's like, I might send him to indoctrination camp or conversion camp. I don't know.
Or maybe it's because Olivia wants him to think and act the same as her. And
Right.
if he's so different from her, she's causing a lot of conflict. Like maybe it's because
It
of
could be that.
them. Because Ethan doesn't really strike me as somebody that's like, you have to believe what I believe.
Mm-mm.
But I don't know. We'll see what the context
Well,
will
and
be.
they're having that argument over the island, and she's like, well, you've changed. And he's like, you're the one who's changed. And I'm just thinking to myself, out of the two of them, I really do think she's changed the most.
Yep.
But I don't think it's a bad change. And I think if you're in a healthy relationship, it can support change and
can.
evolution, your personal growth. Like, I want to support that in my husband.
Yeah.
And as it concerns beliefs, like, I'm as woo-woo as it fucking gets.
Right. And
my
he is
husband
not.
is atheistic. My husband is agnostic, atheistic.
Right.
And I have done a lot of things in the spiritual community. He has traveled with me. He's shown up with me. He's done my like audio visual shit. He has supported me in every way. He does not believe the same things I do, though.
Not at all.
And politically, well, we're pretty aligned, but not in every single thing.
Yeah.
We tend to have like little debates about these types of issues, but he supports me.
Right.
And he's always there.
Right.
And so a healthy relationship makes space for differences of beliefs and opinions.
Of course, because that's a good thing. You're supposed to be able to challenge each other and support each other and help each other grow. So that's why I'm wondering if it's mainly driven by Olivia, because if she's saying that Ethan's changed, I'm like, he really hasn't. He's still the same emotionally inept dude who just likes to work on cars. Like, I don't think he's that much different.
Right.
Maybe he's a little bit more stern with you because he's fed up with your shit.
Right.
Maybe he's tired of the constant crying and manipulation all the time just so you get your way. So yeah, maybe he's changed in that regard. And I don't know if her changes are all necessarily positive either. If
Right.
she is so intolerant to his beliefs.
Right.
Because that's not fair.
Right.
You can't just change your beliefs and then expect him to abandon his faith
Right.
and abandon all of his core values.
Intolerance of the intolerant is still intolerance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I also think she's highly performative in some of the things that she wants us to see and believe about
Totally.
her. I'm like, I don't know if you really believe what you're saying. I know that you want me to think that you do, but I don't know that I believe it.
Yep, agreed.
So interesting stuff. I look
Yeah.
forward to the rest of the season to see who
too.
initiates the ultimate separation and or divorce. I would love it. I would love it.
Please.
If it could be Ethan, but I think it's going to be Olivia.
God.
I think it's going to be Olivia.
Ugh.